Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another round of the Player1 Sim Gear Super Formula Lights Championship, supported by Everything Simulated. At the end of tonight, we'll be officially halfway through our season as the sprint round from Montreal draws to a close. We'll have 4 more rounds after this one. Aragon, Snetterton, Sebring and the Ben Motorsports Park to round off our season, which has been a good one so far, but rather dominated by Sebastian Eskandari, winning the last 3 races in a row. Let's see whether he can go back-to-back again like he did at Magny-Cours, whether he can make it 5 in a row, which I'm not sure has been done before in this series. Myself, Ian O'Leary, and Reece Gardner will take you through the action with George Cook behind the cameras, as always. And it is definitely a season that's starting to be dominated by Eskandari here, Reece. Although he wasn't fastest in practice, it must be said, he only did a few laps. Who could bet against him, even in a race, 2 races today?
Yeah, absolutely. Eskandari comes into this round with the top form in the field, but remains to be seen exactly what he can pull off here, as the qualifying session has only just started for the first of our races here today. We're running the sprint format for today's race, going back to what we had at Magny-Cours, a 15-minute sprint followed by open qualifying for 10 minutes before our feature race of 30 minutes, which will likely require a pit stop. So let's hope that the drivers are well prepared for that, plus the probability of safety cars, which is quite high around this particular track.
Yes, it is. We'll see about that in the second race, of course. This is how we look in the championship standings at the moment. 37 points, the current gap between Eskandari and Craig Edwards, who's had a good season, actually, even despite the dominance of Eskandari. Is only 37 points behind. Jackson Mariana is in 3rd. I said he would jump up after drop rounds were applied, and indeed that has happened. Scott Barchine then, a bit of a gap back to him ahead of Kane Ryder. Only a few points then between him and Thomas Inns, Danny Davison, Mark Hilly, Ocean Colangelo, and Tom Donahue, who rounds out the top 10. He hasn't quite got to 100 points just yet in this season. In the silver class standings, it's even closer, in fact, between Aidan Coote and Mitchell Campbell. There is no gap indeed between them on 106. 14 points back then to Alexei Watson, with Miguel Costa Texeira, who had a good week last week, I think it was, and Ryan Paul rounding out the top 5. Tristan McLaren a further 10 points back, with Matt Tesorero, Marcus Konitska, Chris Little and Nathan Verney rounding out the top 10 there. So all pretty close in the silver class, but as I mentioned, all of these scores include drop rounds. So as a result of that, Eskandari, as I say, is 37 points ahead overall. Then you can see Aidan Coote and Mitchell Campbell, the only 2 silver class drivers who are currently in the top 13, which qualifies them to the Australian Open Wheel Nationals, which Mark Kelly from FDL won, or at least won the race in the previous edition from Bathurst. But yes, drop round has been taken for Eskandari on round number 1. He scored 81 points that day, so that means he can't actually lose the championship lead here today. But it does help to keep this championship a little bit closer, having that 1 drop round. They can't take it on the final round, so Craig Edwards does need to just sort of keep it at this sort of margin, or maybe a bit closer before you get to that final round at the bend, and then you never know what can happen. It's been dominant so far from Eskandari, but by no means has he won this championship by in the first few rounds. He's got a long way to go before he can start to relax, that's for sure.
Yeah, indeed. We are only at the midpoint, so there's plenty more to come, and plenty more pitfalls to navigate. I think for Edwards and everyone chasing, it's just going to be a matter of damage limitation, because wherever we seem to go, Eskandari is right on the pace. So we'll check in very shortly with how qualifying is going, with all the drivers out on track, getting their 2 laps in before we get things going for the first of our races tonight. Yes, you mentioned that Eskandari did not top practice. It was actually a driver who we haven't seen before in this series who has topped practice. Some of you might be familiar with Sam Mort. He's a Twitch streamer who has driven for Williams Esports and largely focuses on the EA Formula 1 games, but he's here in iRacing today. He's managed to get himself an entry in this series as a reserve after another full-time driver pulled out of the rest of the season, and Mort got his SFL season off to the best start possible, topping practice on a 127.8, so keep an eye out for car 114 in qualifying and see how far up the grid he starts.
Absolutely. Having said that, he hasn't set a time yet in this qualifying session. We're still waiting for his time to come through. Because, yeah, the first one didn't count. He must have scraped the wall somewhere or gotten off track somewhere or whatever. Gold and silver class placements will be finalised after this round, by the way. I don't think we've seen too much movement actually this season, but there may be a little bit of movement after this round. Just a couple of adjustments to the different classes based on how good everyone's been so far this season in terms of their driving. So that will be an update on that next week before the Aragon race, the feature race for 45 minutes. Unsure as of yet, and I'm not sure whether Tom even knows yet, what layout we're going to use for Aragon in a week's time, because it's one of those circuits, isn't it, with a lot of layouts. Some of them are better than others, it must be said. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be a journey in itself. And I mean, you know, it's one of those circuits that's not actually very well known, so could be very, very unpredictable next week. Unlike, I think, tonight, where, while it's a difficult circuit, it's not an unknown one.
Yeah, of course, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, known for hosting the Canadian Grand Prix since the late 1970s. It's been through a couple of layout changes over the years, but it still has the same basic shape and flow. And what really defines the racing around here is how much you can use the curbs, how much you can get away with around the corners. And yeah, there are a few options when it comes to Aragon, but it basically comes down to whether or not you want that super tight hairpin at the end of the lap or not. It would obviously be really good for overtaking in these cars, but maybe some drivers would prefer having the more sweeping final turn of the motorcycle layout. And do you have that little diversion in the middle sector off the back stretch? That is the question that will hopefully be answered in a few days' time. But for now, we'll keep our focus on this circuit here, as it looks like all the times are in during qualifying. The Wall of Champions has been mastered by quite a few. I see all of our proper protagonists up at the top of the session, and it looks like the admins are kicking us over, Ewan, so might be time for us to go through the grid.
Yeah, I'll take a deep breath because it's going to be a very long grid, and indeed Sam Mort has taken the pole position on his Player1 Sim Gear Super Formula Lights Championship debut. Alongside him, Jackson Rihanna on the front row. Reigning champion Mark Kelly starts third ahead of Scott Bartime, with Sebastian Eskandari not on pole this time around. He starts in fifth position. First time he's qualified off of the front row. Kane Ryder alongside him. Craig Edwards and Thomas Hinds are on row 4. Ahead of Mitchell Campbell and Alexi Watson. They're on the first row of the Silvers inside the top 10. Big gap back to their rivals, by the way. Julian Snezzi is 11th, ahead of Angus Milne. Matthew Vince and Danny Davison then on row 7, ahead of Alex Stevens and David Gallo. Brady McConkey and James Casser on row 9, ahead of Tom Donahue and Mitchell Albert, who round out the top 20. Daniel Byrne 21st, ahead of Jackie Chung, who's third in the silver class, a long way behind any rivals. Ryan Borg is 23rd, ahead of Dan Ackland, with Aidan Coote and Miguel Costa Texera, who are on row 13. Doug Gowers, Dylan Little, Madeleine McGee and Marcus Konitska round out the top 30. Anthony Bate is 31st, ahead of Matt Tesorero, with Vaughan Ryder and Michael Brennan on row 17. Chris Swadling and Chris Little next, ahead of Dennis Hawkins, last driver to set a time. Justin McLaren didn't set one, and I think that is it. So 38 drivers in the field today. That still means a few drivers are not going to score points. And by the way, don't forget that in the first race of the day, only the top 25 score points anyway. So it's going to be quite hard to even score points. I think there'll be some drivers who even finish the race normally who are not going to score any out of race number 1 here tonight. Don't forget, a 15-minute race initially, followed by a 30-minute feature later. That will have an open qualifying session, by the way, which we'll bring to you on the other side of a break as the servers switch over. There are the conditions at 12:30 midday. 23 degrees Celsius on the racetrack. Nothing too warm or too cold at this stage in the race. One gap in the field, Brodie McConkey and Dan Ackland, actually 2 gaps in the field as the race gets underway. Lights on and lights out here from Montreal as we're underway in the Player1 Sim Gear Super Formula Lights Championship in Canada. It's a good start, very good start from Sam Moore on his debut. And a spin in the middle front. That's Eskandari, the championship leader, goes for a spin through turn number 1. His first trouble this season, I think he could say. Or is that one of his teammates? It might have been one of his teammates. It was definitely a Max Boost car. I thought it was Eskandari. He seems to still be running in 4th place. It may be another Max Boost car. It may have been Kane Ryder who's dropped down the field for Team Max Boost. Eskandari gets away with a skay. Must have been around that because he started in that region as well. Kane Ryder it is who goes around. Eskandari survives. He'll be 4th.
He will be indeed. Vaughn Ryder has pulled over to the side of the racetrack and escaped back to the pits. So it seems that the Team Max Boost have not had a great time at the very start of this one. For the record, Brodie McConkey and Daniel Ackland, I believe, getting pit lane starts for this round. Here's what happened to Ryder. Spins around and into the tarmac runoff area. We also saw Alexi Watson with problems at turn 2. He was sent pretty much into the wall. Some dramas further back here coming out of the hairpin and down the casino straight. 3 wide. Matthew Vince, Angus Milne and Mitchell Campbell. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers into the final chicane here? It's going to be Campbell.
Well, 7th place for the silver class leader, and he's got a very big lead over the others in his class. Thomas Hinds, unfortunately, has got a meatball. There was a lot going on at the hairpin there, by the way. There's a lot going on in this race. Side by side between Vince and Milne, and Vince will keep that place this time around. Hinds, one of the only ones to come into pit lane last time around. Let's see if we can work out why. He's got a meatball, as I say, but why? In towards the hairpin. Blocks up the rears. Oh, my word, and he's cluttered by somebody who goes into the air as well. Hinds is quite unlucky, I would say, to get a meatball out of that, but he did make the mistake by himself.
Yeah, it looked like he just locked up the rears into the hairpin there. You need a lot of rotation around this track, but maybe that was a bit too much. Well, battle on for the lead here. Sam Moore trying his best to hold off Mark Healy there, who almost had a go into the second last of the chicanes that define this layout. And unfortunately, a poor exit means he has got Jackson Rihanna all over him, who's going to try and go around the outside of Lepangla. A little bit of side-by-side on the exit too. The track widens out beautifully on the exit of that hairpin, allows Rihanna to maintain the outside line. But this is going to leave both of them open to an attack from Eskandari, potentially from Scott Bartine as well. Craig Edwards just out of slipstream range in the background there as it's on between Healy and Rihanna. That's very deep on the brakes for the number 57, and he gets the move done only just.
Yeah, that was, and that was helped by Sam Moore, actually, who tried to give an equal slipstream to both of them so as to make them think about who would go first into that chicane. Couldn't quite get that right in the end, quite difficult to do that, but he in the end helped Rihanna get through on Mark Healy. The 2 championship rivals from last season, don't forget, if you were with us, they had a great championship fight all the way to the very end of the season. After Mark Healy faltered slightly towards the end of the season, he had enough in the end, though, quite comfortably actually, to win the title. That's why he wears the number 1 as it stands, and Jackson Rihanna doesn't. Sebastian Eskandari, who'll be looking to do the same next season, is currently in 4th. Then you've got Scott Bartine, another driver who's had the number 1 on his car in the past. He won season 2 of this championship, don't forget, earlier this year, just before summer. Well, summer for me, I mean winter really, don't I? But yes, whatever that season is, season 2. He's 5th at the moment, he's not far away. Mark Healy close again on the way towards the hairpin, but not close enough. This is staying really close. Wasn't expecting Montreal to be such a draft track, actually, but I guess it makes sense when you think about it. A long back straight, and between every corner effectively here you've got a mini straight to keep the field close together. And look at Healy again here and Eskandari, they're both close to Jackson Rihanna, who's forced to half defend. Healy half attacks, but no position change.
And they'll be dealing with a little bit of aero push there through the chicane. That was a poor exit for Jackson Rihanna. I wonder if he caught the wall of champions. It looks like Eskandari's going to try and make it 3 wide. He thought about going for the inside there, but it is defended nicely by Healy, and he tries round the outside here of Rihanna. The inside exit is usually better out of turn 2, but Healy just ahead as they get into the braking zone. Rihanna defends again. All of this This is allowing Sam Mort to skip away from the front of the field.
And look at Eskandari try and take advantage here through the right-hander. He's going to go for it. Oh, Hilly's close, and he's gone deep there. He very nearly hit Rihanna. He's gone deep, and he's lost it to Eskandari. Is he going to lose out to Partide as well, who is right there? On the straight towards turn 8 they come now. Another tight chicane, and Partide's on the outside. He'll back out of it because that is a hiding to nothing on the outside there. Mort with a gap should go on to win from here, you'd think. I don't think I'm calling it too early by saying that, but the battle for second place is just going to continue to extend that gap, because I can't believe that that's the last pass for second place, as Eskandari immediately proves that by getting a wonderful exit out of the hairpin, and now he's going to have a great chance on the way towards the chicane. No slipstream to help Rihanna. It's only coming for Eskandari, and here he goes on the outside line. He would be extending his championship lead by doing this, and of course with Craig Edwards so far down, he would be doing it anyway. Here he comes into the chicane. Rihanna on the inside can keep the position. Safe for Mark Hilly, who comes into the final chicane with great speed actually, but keeps fourth place, and they stay single file in towards turn number 1 this time. Craig Edwards has joined them, by the way. Now, I say so far back, he's not actually that far back in terms of time. He is down in 6th place though.
Yeah, so a little bit of side-by-side between Hilly and Bartine on the way into the final chicane as well really helped Edwards catch up there. What I'm noticing about Rihanna is he is incredibly confident on the brakes. He seems to have a lot of front end on that car as we get our first race control message of the night. That's going to be Thomas Hins getting a 10-second post-race time penalty for loss of control and involving another car as To The Grass has to take Mark Healy. He wants this back from Eskandari. How hard is he going to push it? Well, he's going to leave Eskandari just enough space to get the line into the corner. That brings Bartine right back into it. Craig Edwards, I think, is happy just cruising behind these guys. He knows that they're going to try and get into it at every opportunity, and if something happens, he can just sail through and take advantage.
Well, yeah, slightly puzzling place to go for it there, Hilly, and you know, that's going to allow Jackson Rihanna to get away if this continues on here, but you can absolutely see why they want to attack Eskandari. Oh, he's in the grass trying to attack him on the straight as well. That is unbelievable. He wanted the inside so badly there, and now he's blinking. Oh, they don't know where he is. He's on the inside though, and he's up into 3rd place. That was ballsy from Mark Hilly. 2 wheels on the grass. Eskandari didn't know where to look. Lucky that there wasn't an incident there, to be honest, but Hilly does get to 3rd place.
I have to do some meditation and relax my shoulders after that one. It's never a good thing to see. A car blinking at max speed on the way into one of the most significant braking zones on this track. But the battle will continue. Everyone managed to get out of it somewhat clean. Sam Mort is running times pretty close to that of Rihanna, and slightly faster for that matter. Everyone else is struggling to really get some good pace on now. It seems the more you battle, the more you fall behind. I think that's been true for every round that we've seen thus far this season. I mean, how long are they going to keep this going? It is a short race, only 15 minutes of which now half has already elapsed. So it's understandable that they'll try and get into it whenever they can, but I would think maybe you want to try and preserve some pace for the final lap and not allow your rivals to get away. I think it's too late for anyone to catch Sam Mort at this stage, but Jackson Rihanna is still vulnerable. Second could be an option.
Yeah, it could be. Let's see what happens on the way to the chicane this time, because Hilly has caught Rihanna. Look at the speed he's got in the slipstream there. He's forcing Rihanna to go defensive, and then he pulls back to the racing line again. Just in time for the chicane, when she gets a little bit wrong. Over the first curve there, and he's bobbled into the second. And here comes Eskandari as well, as Mark Hilly takes advantage. Eskandari's not close enough, I don't think, before turn number 1, and he'll just stay behind for now. Here comes Hilly on the inside. Can he close out his former championship rival? He not quite, anyway. Jackson Rihanna still on the inside, but not quite far alongside. And Hilly does get to second. That was dangerous through that final chicane. Shows the danger of it. Rihanna really smacked that first curb and very nearly ended up in the wall.
Yeah, that's one of the things you need to look out for at this track is how harsh the curbs can be. You need to use them to get max pace around this circuit, but particularly at the final chicane and at the turn coming up, there's these big white anti-cut curbs that hide behind the main striped curbs, and if you hit them wrong, you're going to go clattering over them. It'll either destroy your underbody, get yourself a slowdown, or at the very least ruin your pace through the corner. Hairpin comes now, and it looks like Eskandari is wising up to things at the moment. He's not going for the move on Rihanna. He's waiting for a clearer opportunity. Can he pick up the slipstream? There is a slot just ahead of Rihanna in between him and Healy that Eskandari could potentially slot into. He just needs to make the move first.
So, and Healy's going to give Rihanna the slipstream here. Eskandari still on the inside though. Oh, he just about backed out of it there. And Rihanna knew exactly the parameters of his kart because he just about pulled in front of him as well. As they go over the line, by the way, there'll be 4 laps to go. Sam Moore is controlling this race very nicely and should go on to win from here. Healy and Rihanna are trying to gain what they can from Eskandari, although the championship leader is going to gain on Craig Edwards, who at the moment can't quite keep pace. 6th place at the moment. Mitchell Campbell still battling in the lower half of the top 10. Angus Milne just in front of him, only just. And Mitchell Campbell 9th. He's 5 positions ahead of his silver class nearest rival, so he's controlling this race at the moment and would take the silver championship lead with the win here as well.
Certainly would, of course. Both classes are scored by overall finishing positions, so the more gold class cars you have in between yourself and your next silver class rival, the greater points advantage you will have. So Mitchell Campbell is pretty much in the perfect position for that at this stage. He's got a lot of pressure behind from Davison, Stevens and Donahue as well, as Eskandari once again tries to jump onto the podium and make a move on Rihanna, but he's going to have to wait again. If I was in Eskandari's position, I'd be mighty frustrated at this stage. Only going to have about 3 laps to go when they cross the line next, and your rival, the guy you're trying to pass, has got slipstream from the guy ahead. So what do you do in this situation? You just got to hope you get a mammoth exit from the chicane like he just did.
And he did, yeah. Hilly is going to still give the slipstream to Rihanna, who might have the advantage being on the inside for turn 2, but Eskandari dives deep for turn 1. Oh, that was close again. Wheel to wheel, neither of them were going to back out of that. And Eskandari, in the end, was forced to because he was on the outside of turn 2, and he wasn't going to go all the way around the outside there. So Rihanna up to 3rd. Well, that was close, and that may be the closest even that Eskandari has come. Oh no, that's a big dive. Big dive down the inside, and he's made it work. Down into turn 6, that's unbelievable. Outside of 7, Rihanna's still giving this a go though. He's got the exit now. As Eskandari went super deep, it's not going to give him the run. Now into turn 8 and 9. Rihanna breaks earlier, but Eskandari on the tight line will have to go deep again. And here comes Rihanna again. He's going to get the exit again in towards turn 10 now. The hairpin. 3rd place still being fought over here. Rihanna on the outside, going to try and go all the way round, is he? Oh, he's going to be blocked off expertly by Eskandari, and he gets 3rd place, the championship leader. What a battle between the 2 of them, and he's set to with 2 laps to go. Rihanna's still in the slipstream though. Let's see if he can come back again, despite being blocked off through the hairpin. He's still going to give this a go into the final chicane. He might have the legs as well on the straight. He might be in front by the corner. Is he going to be there? No. Eskandari's still on the inside. He keeps the position again, and here comes Scott Bartine. Can he make it free wide? Maybe. On the way towards turn 1. Rihanna won't want to see this. He's weaving around his Bartine in the background. Here comes Rihanna on the inside. Rolls reverse from last lap. Eskandari on the inside for turn 2. It's exactly the opposite way round as before, but Eskandari gets the place, and here comes Scott Bartine as well. He's on the inside in time for turn 3, and he's going to hit Rihanna. He hits Jackson Rihanna, who spins into the grass, and he'll drop outside the top 5 for the first time. Scott Bartine and Jackson Rihanna come together on the penultimate lap, battling for 4th place.
Oh, that's a shame. Oh, I really wish the battle didn't end like that. You know, up until that point, my grin was about as wide as Eskandari was making that car. That was great racing between the two of them. And I understand Bartine going for the maneuver as well, but unfortunately, entry to that chicane's just a bit too fast for a move like that to work. You need to be fully alongside the car you're trying to pass before you can do that. Rihanna was just getting a better exit and being a bit later on the brakes. It even looked like a bit of netcode contact between the two of them, so I don't know how race control's going to look at that one. Regardless, Sam Mort are now in the lead by 2.5 seconds over Mark Healy. That crash really spaced out this battle for the top 5, and he'll come across the line to take the white flag. I think Healy's going to need a miracle to take the win from here.
Yeah, he certainly will. Just over 2 seconds. I don't know if we can see the incident again just from the air, just to see if we can sort of get a view as to how far alongside. I know there's trees and stuff, so it might not be very helpful. But yeah, just to see how far. George is straight on it. See if they're not behind the trees here. Oh, they're not. So here we go. He's sort of alongside, and I don't know. I feel like, you know, Bartine was alongside from the exit of turn 2 there, and you know, Rihanna didn't give very much room there, to be honest, going in towards. I get what you're saying about you need to be a long way alongside, and to be honest, he probably wasn't going to get the place, but he was definitely alongside. Now I do think Rihanna sort of brought that on himself somewhat.
I think by the definition of the rules, there was sufficient overlap for Bartine to be granted the space on the track, but it all happens so quickly, and Rihanna's obviously interested in trying to keep the position, so he's going to brake as late as he can and start turning in early. You know, I think you really need to assert yourself alongside the car you're trying to pass if you're going to try and get up the inside there, but looks like we're about to give our victor his dues here. Sheer domination from the debutant Sam Mort at the front of this field. Just 2 corners to go, 1 corner to go, and that's the checkered.
What an FDL debut it is for Sam Mort. Pole and victory in race number 1 at Montreal. He takes the checkered flag first, being caught in the end by Mark Healy, who sets the fastest lap on the final lap of the race. But it is Sam Mort who wins on debut, with Healy and Eskandari joining them on the podium. Eskandari's run of podiums stretches to 5. That's the longest run in the series. Craig Edwards' run of top 5s, though, stretches to 5 as well. He's having a very good season. Don't let those championship standings fool you. Ooh. He's having a very good season indeed. Mitchell Campbell came over the line there, by the way, as the silver class winner in 8th place. He will take the championship lead ahead of Aidan Coote, who finishes in 15th himself. He'll be on the silver podium, I suppose. But Mitchell Campbell wins the race in the silver class. Brody McConkey ends the race with a meatball flag, so I'm not sure what's going to happen to him. He may well drop outside of the points, so he only finished 22nd anyway in that race. Clearly not his best race of the year, but oh, what an opening race that was. Looking forward to a longer one, I must say, with a pit stop involved in it as well, and maybe a battle for the race lead as well would be nice, because one thing that I think that we can all learn from that first race, and maybe it caught me off guard a little bit, the amount of time you lose in a battle is extraordinary around here.
Yeah, absolutely is. There's so many chicanes around this circuit where one line fits all, and you really need to have no one around you in order to maximize them. It looks like there was a lot of brutality going on further down in the field as well. I noticed that car pulling off into pit lane. That was Giuliano Sinese, who I think had a meatball flag, and I saw at least one car crabbing across the line. So there was plenty of chaos all through the field here in the first race at Montreal. But what a fantastic debut by Sam Mort. I wonder if his rivals are going to learn from that, as you say, and maybe work together a bit more in the feature.
Yeah, let's see in a moment. But Mort wins the first race of the day ahead of Mark Healy. Sebastian Eskandari getting his podium in the end. Craig Edwards in the top 5 again, as I mentioned. Scott Bartine 5th, who, by the way, has been absolved of responsibility for that incident with Jackson Rihanna. So no further action taken by race control in that incident. Matthew Vince and Angus Milne 6th and 7th, ahead of Mitchell Campbell, who wins in the silver class. Danny Davis and Alex Stevens round out the top 10, with Tom Donoghue 11th. Jackson Rihanna drops to 12th after that incident. David Gallo 13th. Jackie Chung and Aidan Coote rounding out the top 15, with Ryan Borg just outside of there. Dylan Little 17th ahead of Alexei Watson, who received a penalty of 5 seconds during that race for a minor incident with Douglas Gowans. So he will drop down a couple of places. He would certainly drop behind Mitchell Albert and Doug Gowans, who he had the incident with, and therefore outside of the top 20. Maybe Marcus Gnitska as well. Brody McConkey finishes 22nd ahead of Miguel Costa Texera, Tristan McLaren and Michael Brennan, the last driver in the points. Kane Ryder just outside of that after spinning on lap 1. Madeline McGee, his teammate, just behind. Matt Tesorero, Dennis Hawkins and Anthony Bate rounding out the top 30. Chris Swadling 31st ahead of Daniel Byrne, who got a 5-second penalty in that race as well for an incident with Ryan Borg. So Byrne will drop down behind Chris Little. Then Dan Ackland, Julian Stanese rounding out top 35. James Kasser, Vaughan Ryder and Thomas Hinz, who also received a 10-second time penalty in that race. Won't matter anyway. He finished in 38th, the last running driver. Well, what a first race that was from Montreal. We've got another one coming up, so stay with us here at the Player1 Sim Gear Super Formula Lights Championship, supported by Everything Simulated. We'll be back in a few moments' time with the open qualifying session of 10 minutes before a feature race of half an hour in the second race here from Montreal to bring us to the halfway point in our season. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment with race 2. Welcome back to Montreal here in the Player1 Sim Gear Super Formula Lights Championships fourth round of season 4 in 2025. Myself, Villeneuve, Reece Gardner, George Cook behind the cameras for this round. We're in qualifying for race 2, and as you can see, it is open qualifying and it's very busy. That is not news, I suppose, Reece. Conditions pretty much the same. Qualifying going to be important again, though, because, well, overtaking wasn't impossible. In fact, it was not too difficult, actually. It was noticeable how the front guys got away very quickly once they were battles behind. So you don't want to be caught behind one of those in the race, and therefore you do want a good starting position here for race 2.
Yeah, that you do, but the other side of that coin is with 38 cars out on track, all trying to get their laps in the next 7.5 minutes. There's going to be very little space to work with. We see purple sectors being set by Jackson Rihanna and Angus Milne. It actually looks like that purple for Milne has been taken away because someone else has gone quicker in sector 1. You can see right here, there's so much traffic that you have to contend with. And being an open wheeler, I mean, the Super Formula Light does a better job of following other cars closely than some higher level open wheelers, but it's still quite difficult to make your way through these fast corners and still maintain front grip, aero stability, etc. when you got a car up in front of you. So our first times for the session are coming in. Thomas Hins to the provisional top. Rihanna and Edwards round out your top 3 there. Stevens, McConkey, and Ackland put times in, and that's going to be the top 3 for now. But a lap here with Tom Donoghue, our league administrator, through turns 1 and 2. Got to try and focus on the exit here, and then the first of our brutal chicanes here. Big curbs that you have to ride, and the wall's right there to greet you on the exit. You can maximize your acceleration through here, flat out through the right-hander, and immediately back on the brakes for this chicane, which is also quite a good passing opportunity, and then you have to get on the power, flat out through the exit of the chicane onto the second longest straight that this track offers.
Yeah, and another decent slipstreaming chance up here on the way towards turn 8. Over those curves through there, and somebody off in front, not to get distracted by that. So we've got blue straight across that chicane, pretty easy to do, and then down in towards the hairpin. One of the better overtaking chances as well, or indeed one for setting an overtaking chance up, whichever one you choose. Then out of the corner and on the way towards the back straight again, and the final chicane, the famous final chicane. Craig Edwards goes to the top of the standings, by the way, 28-2 from him, and Donahue will hope to join them. He was in the top 10 of that last race for a period of time. See whether he can qualify inside the top 10 here at all, as he uses a bit of slipstream on the way towards the line as well, which should just help him just inside halfway of this session, and indeed that does move him up indeed to 4th place. So good luck there from Donahue, but you can imagine the times are going to continue to come down here.
Yeah, lovely lap from Donoghue. Sam Mort, meanwhile, making his series debut here, was a reserve, and due to a dropout is now part of the league full-time. This is, of course, the first season in this league's history where the field was oversubscribed, actually filling out the whole entry list before the first round, so it's taken this long for a spot to open up for Mort, but he's taken great advantage of it. His first lap doesn't count for much, but we know that he'll have the pace to get himself at least onto the front row again. Whether or not it's going to be another pole remains to be seen, but here's hoping he can get a time down, because it's really good to see him here and bring in the fight to our regular front runners.
And Jackson Rihanna held the two of the purple sectors at once there a moment ago, but not anymore. Just the middle sector now, he's purple 4, but you'd imagine this would be enough for pole at the moment. Craig Edwards doesn't improve this time round, so Jackson Rihanna will try to move up. Instead, he's had both of his purple sectors taken away from him now, actually, but he does go to the top. Keep an eye on the bottom of the screen there to see who's taken them. Scott Bartine moves up to 3rd place, and Edwards is also within a 1/10 of a second at the moment of pole.
I'm very impressed by Matthew Vince's performance so far in qualifying as well. Sits in 4th place in that number 62. All he needs to do is find 1.5 tenths or so, and he'll be able to be on provisional pole. But finding 1.5 tenths around a circuit like this is way easier said than done. Still, quite an impressive performance thus far. Still got 3 minutes left in the session, and I don't see anyone coming in for a fresh set of tires, I would imagine, as Danny Davison now goes fastest, brings it down to a 1:28.142. That's what, like 0.04 of a second faster than Rihanna. This is getting mighty tight. Mort finally puts a time in, and it's only good enough for 7th.
Interesting that there's such a difference at the moment between the two qualifying orders. Of course, in theory, it should be roughly the same, but speed racing doesn't quite work like that. The longer session, it's an open session, and maybe Vince is being helped by being towed along here by, I don't believe somebody is his teammate, but it is maybe helping him a little bit. Here into the final sector comes Vince, as well as Rihanna as well, who goes over the line again and doesn't improve quite. He's close though. Here comes Vince, chasing the slipstream all the way to the line here. Is this going to be a better time, I wonder? It is, and he moves up to 3rd place. So this is how the qualifying order can change. If you can get some teammates together, get some slipstream assistance, then you can move up. But so far, Eskandari hasn't been able to have that, and maybe now only he can. Danny Davison has been helped by a Team Max Boost teammate, and maybe this is how Eskandari is going to jump up the order in a second as well.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Eskandari can hold on to this particular lap here and see if he can get himself back onto the front row. Let's see if he can get it done here. Sam Mort makes an improvement up to 3rd. Brilliant job there. And it looks like there might just be enough time for him to get this next lap in as well and maybe find his way to pole. But that time from Danny Davison is looking harder and harder to beat as time goes on. Craig Edwards, meanwhile, he's done personal bests in both sectors so far. That's super deep there into the final chicane. And it's looking like a good lap for the moment from Fredo. Let's see what he can do here across the line. Doesn't shorten the run to the line like we've seen others do. It is an improvement, but it doesn't grant him any extra positions.
Top 5 covered by less than a 10th at the moment. Davison, Rihanna, Mort, Vince and Edwards. Can Bartine join them? He's got no slipstream, but no, he's not quite going to join them. He's just over a 10th back. Stevens moves up to 9th. Vince here with just half a 10th to gain to get pole, but he's not going to manage it with that lap time. That might well be the end of his session unless he's setting up for one last attempt here. Haven't seen too many green sectors in the recent past here. Danny Davison staying out of the slipstream, making a point almost of staying out of the slipstream there of his Team Max Boost teammate, who slots right in behind him. Eskandari's dropped outside the top 20 now in qualifying. He very much needs to improve here as Davison comes towards the line. That's not going to be a 1 minute whatever, 1 minute 11. That's not true. He goes over the line and stay where he is. Sam Mort though, very quick, and is this better? Is this quicker? It is a 27.9, and suddenly the drivers within a 10th of a second are blown out of the water by Sam Mort for the 2nd qualifying session in a row.
Brilliant job from Sam Mort there. Just like the qualifying session for the sprint race, he waited until the very last opportunity to get that time down. Kane Ryder, let's see if he can get any extra pace in as we wait for our final few improvements. Brody McConkey improves from 20th to 14th. Good improvement in the dying seconds of the session. Next couple of cars to come across the line. Looks like laps aren't counting for them, but Rihanna does improve and gets onto the front row. Shuffles Davison down to 3rd. And for the moment, it looks like that might be the last time we see from anyone in this session. Just got a few more cars waiting across the line. Look at them pushing as hard as they can in the final few corners. Someone hits the wall of champions in a big way in the background there. Brief local yellow. Mitchell Albert crosses the line, improves to 14th place. So he's already on his way to potentially backing up some extra results from race 1 there. Alexei Watson up to 26th. Another gain of 2 positions from someone further down in the field. Just incremental improvements to be found as one of the Max Boost cars now coming across the line. Tristan McLaren with a massive improvement up to 21st place. I think that might be one of the first proper times he had gotten in that session. And Madeline McGee, the last driver to come across the line here, only good enough for 31st on a 29.069. Looks like that's everyone.
It does. The last time from a driver inside the top 10 was Kane Ryder, who moved up to third place. Who hope for a better lap 1 this time round, though, in the feature tonight. Eskandari qualifies 9th, so that's his worst qualifying of the season. Again, that's happened to him twice now this evening, which is pretty unusual, but it's also pretty unusual to go through 4 races without starting off of the front row, to be fair. So he was on a hiding to nothing there. He was always going to break that at some point, but it's just happened 2 days, 2 races in one night. That is quite a dangerously long way back, though, I would say, because if you look at the first race and you see the way the field broke apart with the battles and whatever, you can suddenly find yourself a very long way back very quickly.
Indeed you can. Well, grid is up. Sam Mort on pole position for race number 2 tonight. Jackson Rihanna joins him on the front row. Kane Ryder and Danny Davis in 3rd and 4th, with Matthew Vince and Craig Edwards on row number 3. Scott Bartine, 7th place alongside Giuliano Sinese, who's put in a great performance there. Sebastian Eskandari, only 9th in that qualifying session. He's going to be looking for a lot of improvements there. Tom Donahue rounding out your top 10. Then it's Alex Stevens and Thomas Hins on row 6, Angus Milne and Mitchell Albert 13th and 14th, Brody McConkey, Jackie Chung taking the pole position in silver, with Daniel Byrne and Chris Little just behind. Miguel Costa Texera and Anthony Bate round out your top 20. Then it's Tristan McLaren and Mitchell Campbell, the 2 silver cars behind. David Gallo, Dan Ackland and James Casa round out your top 25. Aidan Coote 26th. Watson, Borg, Konitska and Brennan rounding out the top 30. Madeline McGee 31st alongside Dylan Little, with Doug Gowans and Vaughan Ryder 33rd and 34th. Matt Tesserero and Chris Swadling on the 18th row, with Dennis Hawkins, the last car to start here. It looks like we only have 37 initially on the grid there. Actually, Mark Healy, I've noticed, did not set a time in the qualifying session. Yeah. I don't know if he's even going to take to the grid here.
And news just in, he's just messaged in the YouTube chat, says, iRacing reset and put me in the GT3 when I loaded in, so I can't race. But he'll be watching, he says, so... well, a good evening to him, but a shame under these circumstances to have him down there at the back of the field. Unfortunately, it's the 2nd season in a row where the reigning champion has a bit of a nightmare. Just 1 point gained last round, by the way. So, and that's currently his drop round. So I don't know how easy it's going to be for him to recover from this points deficit. But that is a real shame for Mark Healy as we get this 2nd race underway. Half an hour from Montreal, another... Oh, and trouble in the background already! Somebody's let the clutch go already! And there's already trouble. Already trouble in the background as the lights go out and we get underway properly at the front of the field. In towards turn number 1 for the first time again. Sam Mort leads the field, and this time a cleaner start from the top 5 or so. And on the other side, it's Rihanna who's challenging Sam Mort closest. In the background, it's real trouble as off track for Alexei Watson's at the back. Madeline McGee is a long way down. Now Marcin Konitska. I'm not sure who was the ones actually involved in that lap 1 incident, but that was highly unusual. Before the lights even went out, we had an incident there.
Yeah, and it was Alexei Watson who got rolling a bit too early, got onto the back of James Casa and then made contact with his teammate Daniel Ackland. So Synergy Sim Racing not having a great start there, even before the green flag officially flew. For Sam Mort, though, it's him versus Jackson Rihanna. At the front of the field, they've already broken away from the chasing pack. Matthew Vince maintaining 3rd spot. This has been a great race for him so far, but we're only 3/4 of a lap in.
Is Mort going to come under more fire this time round in the feature race than he did in the sprint? Let's see as he comes up on the left-hand side now and looks like Rihanna, that is, comes onto the outside. Looks like he's going to take the lead here. Mort understands what's going on because he gets tucked in immediately, and I don't think we'll mind losing the lead too much. What he will be worried about more is the gap to Vince there in 3rd place, and Ryder and everybody else there. He won't attack in towards turn number 1 because he wants to make this a 2-driver fight for the win.
Yeah, and it's looking like that is the case for the moment. Matthew Vince obviously having great qualifying pace, but his race pace, there's a couple of question marks over that. We'll see if he can maintain that kind of pace with a max boost trio right on the back of him. Ryder, Davison and Eskandari, with Craig Edwards and Giuliano Sinese bringing up the rear of this train before they get back to Scott Bartine, Alex Stevens, Tom Donoghue and Brody McConkey. Meanwhile, this is what happened to Alexi Watson. Yeah, it looks like he was taken by surprise there. Maybe let go of the clutch pedal too early. Could have been a hardware failure or something like that. Either way, James Kasser and Daniel Ackland will be none too happy with that as a car in the wall. I think that was Matthew Vince.
Yeah, Vince in the wall, and that is a real shame from third. He was having a fantastic race, and look at the bomb it set off behind, by the way. 2 wide, 3 rows deep there. Eskandari, one of them trying to step into that and take some places. He has got a place from Davison. He's up to 4th, is Eskandari, after the start that he's had, and he's going to help his teammate just pull back up ahead, of course. Danny Davison, a max boost driver these days. Eskandari's going to be overtaken, though, by his teammate. Oh, look at this. 3 wide. Eskandari on the outside. He's going to get away with that as Vince looks to regain places. He was 3 wide on the inside there, regaining them all in one go. And Eskandari and Davison exchange places again here. Not sure why on the front straight this time round, but Vince is not damaged, seemingly, despite hitting the wall on that lap.
Yeah, I'm astounded that Matthew Vince didn't have race-ending damage from that. It was a fairly big hit to the wall, but I suppose the benefit of it was that it was a full-on side-on impact to the rear. So I guess the drivetrain absorbed a lot of that. Here's Matthew Vince losing those places from that crash, but immediately asserting himself back up the inside. So let's see if he can keep that momentum going and potentially see himself back in the top 5 by the end. Remember, drivers still have a pit stop to contend with, and I gotta say, Jackson Rihanna and Sam Mort are playing this one very well. They're actually working together up the front, and they are gaining hand over fist over everyone else.
Yeah, as long as they don't fight, then they are going to or not properly anyway, they're not going to get caught by the guys behind, you wouldn't have thought. So this is the sensible thing to do for now, and Mort weaves around to maybe indicate that. Not sure what else he could be indicating at the moment towards Jackson Rihanna. Won't be a pit stop yet, you wouldn't have thought. Switch to the inside from Vince on Davison. That is a big smooth down towards the final chicane, and Matthew Vince is up to 5th place. He's completely undamaged by the looks of that, and he's gotten away with that. Davis is now going backwards as well, because here comes Craig Edwards on the inside line, looking to chase after Eskandari probably, but can't do it there. He's still stuck side by side with Davison, and now watch another gap open in front. It's so quick, happened quicker than you can think. The gaps just open up after a side-by-side battle. The second immediately there for Vince.
Yeah, indeed. It's given Vince quite a bit of breathing room there, and Edwards unable to get the move done on Danny Davison. Seems that outside line through turn 2 is not where you want to be. A little bit more of a V shape out of the corner is required. So keeping an eye on Eskandari and Kane Ryder as well. We've noted them going side by side down the start-finish straight a couple of times. Potentially they're trying to do the same thing that Jackson Rihanna and Sam Mort are doing up ahead. Honestly, if I were in their position, that would be the first thing I'd do. I'd work together with the guy around me to try and catch up to the leaders.
Yeah, let's see if they decide to work together here or not, because there's a lot of them. And nobody's pitting yet either, don't forget. We should see pit stops at some point in this race. Just the one, of course, because it is a half an hour race rather than a 45. Here's Davison versus Edwards again. Edwards on the outside being really squeezed there, but it's Davison staying ahead. Now in towards turn 1, here comes Scott Bartine, who's weaving around there in the background. Just me, or Scott Bartine's delivery looks a little bit different than it did last race. Maybe it's just me. Oh, Edwards, very wide, and that's an invitation that Bartine cannot pass up. And here comes Giuliano Sinese as well. Mistake from Edwards as he tumbles further down the field. He goes around the outside and keeps this place at least in 8th. But yeah, that was uncharacteristic and unforced error there from Craig Edwards.
Yeah, it's the weight transfer side to side as you come out of turn 1 and into turn 2. You're on the brakes at the same time, so it's very easy to lock the inside front on your way in. And Edwards obviously has experience dealing with that. Good on him to keep the car on the track and only lose one position in the end. A little bit further back, Alex Stevens, Brodie McConkey, Angus Milne and Tom Donoghue all fighting over this position here side by side into the hairpin at the back of this pack. I believe that's McConkey and Milne who are going side by side there, and McConkey will maintain the position just for the moment. Alex Stevens just up ahead, and there's just enough slipstream to keep them in the fight. But is there going to be a trade on the way into the final chicane? If you're the driver poking the nose out and trying to slipstream here, everyone else is in the train, so they're all getting the advantage, and you're just stuck out there on your own. Oh, no! Whoa! That's massive. Oh. Angus Milne tumbling over. That was almost Ralph Schumacher-esque there.
That was unbelievable. Milne through the air, and we might well have a safety car here. We'll see what race control decide to do, because Brodie McConkey has also got another meatball flag. He is having, I don't know what he has to do to get some luck this season. That's another race with no luck for him. This is going to be quite a camera angle, isn't it? Just watch this. McConkey over the curve into the wall of champions, and oh my word. Angus Milne should be in the Olympics for that kind of thing. That was unbelievable. Is he still going as well? Still driving? I think he is. I think he's still driving, Angus Milne. I just assumed he'd retired. Brodie McConkey has come back to pit lane. Somehow, the driver who flipped through the air is still driving and still in 19th place.
Albeit without a rear wing, so he will have to come in. Yeah, actually, that's it's almost looking like a Formula Ford at this stage. He will have to come into the pits and get those repairs done, if not retire the car. That's just a shame, but it goes to show how quickly everything can go wrong coming out of that final corner. You can be right up in behind the driver you're trying to pass, and all it takes is a tiny little bit of contact, and you're instantly right in the back of them. Yeah, see, there was nothing Milne could do there. He had no time to react.
No. An unbelievable accident. That is for sure. That was close. Kane Ryder very nearly hitting Matthew Vince there for 4th position. Danny Davison just in behind. Sebastian Eskandari is 3rd and trying to catch up to Rihanna and Mort, who are still running nose to tail at the front. Just about 10 minutes in here, by the way. So still plenty of time remaining in the race, and still plenty of pit stops remaining as well, though the leaders are pretty averse to stopping before the main part of the field do. Otherwise, they'll end up in a lot of traffic. But on a day where Eskandari doesn't seem to have the pace of those championship rivals around him, it looks like he's going to gain points on pretty much all of them again.
Yeah, looks like it. This is all coming up. Sebastian Eskandari, and you mentioned traffic. Well, there is a bit for the leaders at the moment. Jackson Rihanna has come up on James Kasser, who incidentally is a teammate to Matthew Vince, and it looks like Kasser is in no rush to let our leader by. He's actually taken alternate lines out of corners to stay ahead, as the safety car, it looks like, virtual safety car has been deployed, and oh my god, we didn't catch it on the cameras, but there was a massive miss there for Jackson Rihanna coming into pit lane. He had to get around Kasser on the way in.
Yeah, Jackson Rihanna leads them all into pit lane. It's an obvious call now, and this is why I suppose the feature races move from the 45-minute races, sorry, move from a one-stop to a two-stop race, because if you do catch a safety car, or indeed a virtual one like this, then you can very easily make your stop. We'll see what happened here. Somebody stopped there.
Jackie Cho?
Yeah, looks something like it. Jackson Rihanna, by the way, out of the pit lane first, followed by Sam Mort, then Eskandari. Davison leads the next group off ahead of Edwards and Kane Ryder. Matthew Vince drops to 7th after that. Scott Bartine, Alex Stevens, Gilles Osanese round out the top 10. Everybody's in. Nobody's staying out. The highest driver actually do not stop that time around. Daniel Byrne, who's up to 15th. That's about where he qualified. But he, of course, already has stopped. It is indeed Jackie Chung who was stopped there. I'm not sure why he couldn't get going again, but it seems that his car in the middle of the racetrack is the reason for the safety car.
Yeah, and it looks like he hit the wall of champions with the right rear tyre, which sent it askew. There's no drive going to the back of that car now. So, understandable that the safety car was brought out for that one, or VSC to be specific. This is going to shorten the race distance a little bit, and that gives the drivers a chance to try something a little bit different, maybe put in a litre or two less during the pit stop than they otherwise would, because under VSC you're trundling around and not using as much fuel while the race timer keeps ticking down. I think that's the main reason that Matthew Vince lost all of that time in pit lane. He had a 6-second stop while everyone around him did stops of about 4.5 seconds. That's going to be a few litres less going into those fuel tanks.
I think pretty much everybody did do that, other than Matthew Vince, who I don't think did adjust, because his stop was 2 seconds longer than everybody else's. Although 2 seconds seems like a lot.
It does, yeah.
Difference in calculation there. You wouldn't take 2 seconds to fuel out, would you, I suppose, for a VSC? That would seem extreme, but there's definitely a difference there anyway. I wonder whether we'll go green this time round, because I don't think... Well, we'll find out, I suppose, but with a virtual safety car, we don't quite get notified in the same way about safety car in this lap, etc. Oh, he's just over the inside curve, isn't he? And we've seen... I'm amazed, to be honest, we haven't seen this already tonight, because we've seen so many moves down the inside of that final chicane that you just think somebody's going to smash over the curbs and get into the wall there, but that's the first time we've seen it while making an overtake, anyway. And so that has brought out our virtual safety car here, and it's brought the field right back in together. Jesus, Chung's still in the middle of the road. I don't think everybody realised, and Chung now been asked to escape. That was quite close, but yeah, we should have another lap under virtual safety car in that case, and then we'll be racing again. It's going to feel like a new race, really, because there's a new driver. Well, Descendari up in the top 3 now. Ryan Borg's 12th, but those are the real movers. Everybody's back together again, though, I think is the key, really. The gaps before were the thing keeping the battles apart.
Yeah, we've almost had this turn into a night of 3 15-minute sprints, haven't we? Because we're just coming up to the halfway point of this feature now, and when we go green, we'll have just under 15 minutes remaining. So things have been split very nicely. So that means that now the drivers are going to have the same attitude that they did in race 1, as it is confirmed the safety car is going to be ending this lap. Wave arounds being played out there for Chris Swadling. He makes his way around our leader. Yeah, I got to wonder how much of an attack Sam Mort is going to put on Jackson Rihanna. Keep an eye on Eskandari in 3rd place as well. Before the safety car came out, it was, I think, 50-50 on whether he'd catch up to the top 2, but he's got everything in front of him now to try and take that win again.
Yep. Oh, it's probably right to say this turned into a night of 15-minute sprints. It's been a bit of a precursor to this one, I suppose, and some are eliminated by damage and so on, but even in some cases that's not even true. 22nd for Angus Milne at the moment, so he could get a decent result despite the spectacular crash he had earlier on. As you say, the wave rounds have now happened. Everybody, I think, is on the lead lap again, other than Jackie Chung, actually, who's a couple of laps down, as you'd expect. And Dan Ackland is so far the only retirement from the 37, obviously a DNS for Mark Hilly. Question in on YouTube, wave rounds under a virtual safety car, is that normal? Yes, it is. I can't explain why, it just is. It's normal under a normal safety car as well, just to keep the lap cars out of the way, because you wouldn't want them tripping over the lead lap cars. So yes, that is normal. It's not a virtual safety car in the sense of is in Formula 1. It is just that the leader just slows down to a safety car pace and lets everybody catch up to them, rather than a everybody going at the same speed kind of virtual safety car. So it is a little bit different. Anyway, into the final couple of corners, and it's going to be just less than 14 minutes to go, in fact, in this race. So probably 10 laps. Rihanna waits. Doesn't go immediately. That could cause a big stack up in the background, but he's clever to do so. And look at that in the background. That's why he waited a little bit, just so that there could be that bit of confusion behind and an initial gap for Jackson Rihanna. Mort keeps second in towards turn number 1. Eskandari third. Then it's Davison, Vince, Ryder, Bartine, Senezi and Stevens, the top 10. Tom Donahue makes a pass for 11th place, or indeed keeps 11th place with Ryan Borg. There's the first break in the field and the first battle in the field.
Indeed it is, and now our top 3 will undoubtedly compress. Eskandari, just like the rest of our top drivers, was weaving like mad to get those tyres back up to temperature, and he is immediately on the attack here. This is the first time tonight I've really seen Sam Mort under any kind of big pressure. All of that trading of spots that he was doing with Rihanna earlier was just the precursor to what we're seeing now. And Rihanna will hope that Mort and Eskandari push each other side by side for a couple of corners so he can get away, but he's not going to have that luxury here. He's going to lock up on the way into the hairpin. Fortunately, a little bit more track on the way out that he can use as moves being made further back there. Slipstream for Eskandari. Let's see if he can get this done.
He's close enough. But Mort is getting the slipstream from Rihanna, which could be a problem. But Eskandari goes to the inside anyway. Will Mort be able to hold on out there? No, he won't. Eskandari gets into second position, although he'll slightly go wide. And this is Rihanna's chance to break away, by the way, at the front of the field. The gap already created behind them. The front 3 are going to battle for the win here, but is it going to be just Rihanna in the lead in the moment? Oh, contact! Eskandari and Mort make contact, and Sam Mort goes around on debut down at turn 2. He tried to squeeze Eskandari, who didn't have any of it, and Eskandari himself drops to 5th. Contact between the two, and big drama. Sam Mort with a meatball flag. He'll be out of contention.
Such a shame. From hero to zero, unfortunately, tonight for Sam Mort. Winning race 1, but will not get anywhere near that result here in the feature. That's a real shame, but just goes to show these guys are going to battle as hard as they ever will. This is the aerial of it here. Mort trying to pass Eskandari back, and, well, Eskandari was forced out onto the grass there, so he wasn't quite in control of the car coming back onto the track there. Have to wait and see what race control thinks about that, but I would think it would be a racing incident, if anything.
Yep, I think so. There's been a million incidents, by the way. a lot for race control to look through. So we might be a while before we get confirmation of that. But I think you're right in what the answer's going to be there. So the battle for second is going to be the one to watch now. Jackson Rihanna is going to run away at the front of this field now. Don't forget, in race number 1, Rihanna finished in 12th place, so he lost quite a few points to Eskandari on that occasion. He'll gain some of those back again with this one. Little and Brennan have gone off now through the final chicane. I think Mitchell Campbell's into pit lane as well. Sam Mort comes in to clear his meatball. It wasn't through the final chicane, sorry, but Little's got a meatball, I think, maybe even through the hairpin it must have been. Further back in the field. Oh dear. Oh no, it's on the straight, is it? This is nearly 4 wide. They're
oh God.
Oh no! Oh my goodness! Brennan ends up in the wall. I think Little was the other one to make contact. That is on the back straight there before the final chicane.
Man, Michael Brennan won't be too happy with that. There wasn't much he could do about that. Getting run into from behind. So that's going to end things for them. Fortunately for Sam Mort, fast repair, and he'll be able to get back out there, but he is way down the order at the moment. I think just outside the top 30 as things stand, or just inside it rather, as Matthew Vince is going to trade spots with Craig Edwards. Vince still looking for a spot on this podium, and Edwards has been on the defense for a little bit. But now they're side by side all the way down this straight. That's going to give the drafting Max Boost pair behind them the advantage. Eskandari and Ryder are coming.
And Edwards is going to get third. So Davison clear. See whether he can catch Rihanna, and he might be able to. Eskandari's 5th as well. So not too many places lost after that incident with Sam Mort in the previous laps. Here comes Vince again, though, in towards 1, right round the outside. He gets that place back again. He's hit there. I'm sure there was contact with Edwards. They get away with it. but contact definitely there. Edwards will want to finish in front of Eskandari, by the way, because he lost 4 points to him in that first race. Stotsadev, of course, 37 behind him, and we've got back the normal point system again for this race. So if you can finish ahead of him with them both in the top 5, then he'd probably net gain on the day, would Craig Edwards, and he would very much like to do that. We're fast approaching the halfway point in the season, and he won't want to let this championship lead for Eskandari get any bigger.
Yeah, Eskandari running away with it really in the first half of the season, and you know, I think this particular race might set things up for that challenge from Rihanna and from Edwards as well. But if we know anything about Sebastian Eskandari, he's not going to give up. He is going to try everything in the book. He's going to throw everything he can at these two in front of him to try and get back on the podium.
Jim Peacock messages in YouTube chat to say that race control are officially hiring because they're out of rows on the spreadsheet.
Oh no!
Gonna need to make a new one. I've never seen that happen before, by the way. Also, I've never seen a spreadsheet only 35 rows big. Anyway, that seems entirely insufficient in the first place, but never mind. Here comes Edwards and Eskandari again. As Edwards tried to pass Vince, he could well have opened himself up to his championship rival with 7.5 minutes to go. Eskandari on the inside this time. He's not making the mistake of being on the outside at turn 1 again, and he's ahead of his championship rival. Now Edwards has got to focus in and try and get that place back again from Eskandari, who's going to be very, very difficult to get that place off of again.
Indeed. Well, Eskandari's pushing hard, though. Rubbed those tyres up against the wall on the exit of turn 4. And so Edwards will be looking for a gap to open up if that happens again. Got to get on the power as soon as you can out of this chicane, because it's all about momentum onto this straight. Now, Craig is a very wily competitor. He's been active in karts as well in the past, so just like Sebastian Eskandari, he knows the deal, how hard he can push, how much he can keep the momentum up. But for the moment, he's sticking behind him, waiting once again for that back straight, for that opportunity. Got to keep an eye on Matthew Vince ahead as well. He seems pretty safe for the moment in third, but with Eskandari leading this charge, I've got to wonder, it's only a matter of time before they'll come under some challenge. Tom Donoghue, meanwhile, just outside the top 10 here, has got Chris Little and Thomas Hinz for company. Hinzy trying his best to work his way forward after spending some time in the pit lane. Oh my goodness, is that Eskandari going deep and into the pits there? And it looks like Scott Bartine. Oh, a meatball for Eskandari. He must have caught it on the exit of turn 4 there, unless we missed it. But now, Edwards and Bartine will assume that battle for 4th.
See if there's anything else, but he was definitely crabbing there. Just in that brief shot, it looked like he was. He looked like he was crabbing to me, so I wonder whether there was contact on the straight or something. But, wow, that is massive for this championship. It could be a first drop round of the season used by, or first proper drop round, you could say. At the moment, Eskandari's dropping a third-place finish. I'm not counting that. That's just ridiculous. It's going to be more sensible after tonight, I think. 20th place at the moment. He's just in behind Bate, and the best he can hope for maybe is 19th. I'll do the maths in a moment, but he might have to take this score. We'll see. Edwards, though, with a big chance here, and you just wonder whether there's going to be some protest there, and indeed whether there's going to be an incident dished out towards him, or what's going to happen here. But at the moment, he's just got to focus on keeping 4th. Here comes Scott Bartine down the inside. Kane Ryder and Julian Arsenaise are in this group as well.
Yeah, I just went, oh God, spin in the back there. Not sure who that was, but I have gone back and checked the incident between Eskandari and Edwards. It was at that exact point they just passed there on the back straight. Edwards made contact with Eskandari's rear right, and that's what caused the suspension failure, and it's going to get worse. Oh, big pile up. And that's going to be Craig Edwards and Scott Bartine around. Kane Ryder joining them as well. Oh! Side by side, it's getting way worse. Track's blocked. We might see another VSC from this.
Well, we're on the last 5 minutes, so sometimes you don't get them so late on. And Craig Edwards is damaged as well here. Oh, my goodness. None of the championship contenders have had a good night tonight. Jackson Rihanna dropping outside the top 10 with a late incident in race number 1. Eskandari dropping down in this race, although he's going to gain a load of places from this. He'll be 14th now. This will still be his drop round as it stands. I'll get back to that in a moment. This is what happened. I mean, this is just carnage. Bartine's on the racing line trying to get out of the way here, but there's a... Oh, he gets smacked. He wanted to get out of the way, but obviously Pulling into the road would have been an even worse thing to do. He's going to be damaged beyond repair. He's another championship contender, by the way, with trouble tonight. Edwards was involved in that. He's dropped down and he's got a meatball now as well. This race is a write-off for him. Scott Bartine, as I say, Kane Ryder had that spin in race 1. Thomas Hin's got a meatball in race 1 as well. Danny Davison's the only one who's had a relatively consistent night by finishing in the top 10 both times. But that's it. I mean, this has been a bloodbath as far as the championship contenders are concerned.
Yeah, I've got to wonder what the standings are going to look like coming into next round with all of this dipping and diving and flying through the air. Marcus Konitska was one of the first on the scene here. Oh, he got spun himself coming out of the final chicane. And, well, just like Scott Bartine, all he could do is sit there and hope that the rest of them avoid him. It looks like Race Control haven't called the VSC. It's too late in the race for that to happen. So that's going to leave Rihanna, Davison, and Vince your podium for now. Senese moves up to 4th. How about Ryan Borg, though? He's managed to move up to 5th out of all of this.
Yep. Borg has missed the last couple of rounds, by the way, after leading the championship in the first round of the season. He's 22nd in points, therefore, but what a result this would be. Chris Little's in 7th as well, despite a bit of a disastrous first race. That's the thing with the 2 race nights, you can recover. And especially with the amount of points you're on offer for race 2, you can pretty much completely wipe away the deficit from race 1. At the moment, by the way, Jackson Rihanna would be scoring 114 points. Eskandari will be scoring 81, or having 81 added to his score, so that'd be a 33-point gain. Rihanna would more than halve his deficit to Eskandari, and I think move up to 2nd in the standings. Edwards would move further away from Eskandari by another 14 points, so he'd be 51 behind as it stands. And Davison probably the only one who moves any closer. He might get to below 100 points behind Eskandari, but this has been an absolute catastrophe for so many contenders. This is how it happened again. Bartine stuck on these. I cannot get my head around how this even begins, really, and how they thought this was a good idea. But in the end, unsighted, so many pile into the mess. I might even go as far to say this is the biggest crash we've ever seen in the Player1 Sim Gear Super Formula Lights Championship. That was massive.
Yeah, certainly biggest pile-up I've seen in an open wheel race in a while. So yeah, I think Craig Edwards and Scott Bartine will be reviewing that one intently to see how that one worked out, and I'll be very interested to see what Race Control thinks of that when they eventually get to it in about 2 hours' time. Once they've, next year, once they've figured out all the other incidents around here. Man, we are almost in November. This year has absolutely flown by. Jackson Rihanna is flying by as well. He's going to be taking the white flag this time by, and leading by 2.5 seconds or thereabouts over Danny Davison. It's looking like 1st and 2nd are pretty much sorted at this stage. 3rd might still be up for grabs, though, because Matthew Vince has... oh, no, actually, I saw a Max Boost car behind him. It was Kane Ryder, who is now a lap down thanks to his damage. Giuliano Senese might see Ryan Borg and Alex Stevens for company. Borg, I think, is the one more under pressure at the moment. He's up 23 positions from where he started. A phenomenal run up through this field as the white flag flies. Can Alex Stevens break into the top 5?
Yeah, I said next year, by the way, thinking that's quite a long time away, but you're right, that's not actually that far away, is it? 2 months, but it is a long time to be looking for incidents, so that's good luck to Race Control for that. It's going to be a long night, that's for sure, for everybody there. The only penalties so far, by the way, are from Dylan Little for a major incident with Michael Brennan earlier, 20 seconds to Little. 10 to Byrne, who's got a penalty for the 2nd race in a row, and Matt Tesorera's got 10-second penalty for moderate incidents as well, with Mitchell Albert and Aidan Coote, respectively. So that's the current situation. Eskandari, by the way, is just in behind Hinz and Albert. So if he can get to 11th, he would score the exact same amount of points as his current drop round, which means his drop would still be an 81-point score, which is pretty extraordinary. That would very much help him coming into next week, and also guarantee that he keeps the championship lead through next week as well at Aragon because of his drop round. But on the back straight for the final time is Jackson Rihanna, who was in the top 5 for a long time in race 1. Should have finished better before an incident with Scott Bartine. And into the final chicane. Jackson Rihanna is going to see the checker flag on a victory in the Player1 Sim Gear Super Formula Lights Championship season. It's just his second podium of the season, but his first victory of Season 4. He takes it by 2.5 seconds in front of the most consistent driver of the day, Danny Davison, and Ryan Borg, who's going to finish 4th in the silver class. He just gets past Senese on the last lap in front of Stevens as well to take the silver class victory. Further behind, Eskandari only gets one of those 2 places, so he will finish 12th. This will be a drop round for Sebastian Eskandari. However, it's not so bad at all in terms of his points. He scores 78 from today. That will become his drop score. And although Jackson Rihanna more than halves his deficit to him, Sebastian Eskandari survives his most difficult day yet in the championship lead.
Well, looks like that was Chris Swadling that's, no, that's Tristan McLaren that's found the wall there out of the final corner. Oh, that's the worst place for that to happen on the way up to the line. Hawkins and Byrne past him. Edwards past him as well. Craig is going to finish in 23rd out of that one. Certainly not the result he would have wanted, but yeah, it doesn't look like Tristan McLaren's going to be going anywhere quickly. Oh, that's a real shame for him.
Yeah, if he doesn't finish this race, this could be quite hilarious, actually.
He can't even turn the car.
Oh, my God. Is the wall...
That's going to be another possession.
Oh, yeah, well, he can't lose any more, at least. By the time he gets 29th.
You can do it, mate.
It'll take a while.
Oh, dear. I mean, we laugh, but Tristan McLaren will be kicking himself for that. Finding the wall of champions on the run to the start-finish line, but he is going to just crawl across. Fortunately, keeps himself ahead of the car that's just come into pit lane there. And that's going to be everyone across the line, Ewan. What an incredible race that was.
Dear me. A ridiculous race in many ways, but yeah, an entertaining one, that's for sure. Can you believe that was only half an hour?
Yeah. I blinked and we were suddenly there.
Dear me. Anyway, that's round 4 of the Player1 Sim Gear Super Formula Lights Championship here from Montreal. What a fantastic round that was in so many ways, but not sure many drivers will be asking to come back anytime soon. Jackson Rihanna wins race 2 on the day. He scores 114 points therefore, which, as you notice, is more than the 81 that Eskandari gets, so he will be a lot closer to the championship lead by 33 points. So Danny Davison finishes with 2 top 10s on the day. So does Matthew Vince, in fairness. He's on the podium in race 2. Ryan Borg gets past Giulio Senese on the last lap to win in silver in 4th. Well, he's going to win anyway, but he gets 4th overall. Stevens in 6th, better Tom Donoghue, with Chris Little in 8th place. Having said that, Chris Little will get oh no, that's the no, I'm confusing him with Dylan Liddell. They're not the same people. David Gallo and Angus Milne round out the top 10. Great recovery from Milne, by the way, who had a meatball in the first half of the race. Still gets top 10. Thomas Hinds, unfortunately, out of the top 10 both times tonight, so he will drop in the championship probably. Eskandari will retain the lead, but his points lead takes a bit of a hit. He finishes 12th ahead of Mitchell Albert. Winatney Bate and James Casser rounding out the top 15. Brody McConkey inside a half minute of the win with 16th, but of Matt Tesoro and Madeline McGee Sammore, who got up to 19th in the end, and Mitchell Campbell, who rounds out the top 20. Campbell won race 1 in silver, don't forget. Doug Gowans, Chris Swadling, form rider Dennis Hawkins, the last driver was within a minute of the win. Daniel Byrne finishes 25th, although will drop down again for the second race in a row with a penalty of 10 seconds. So he will drop behind Craig Edwards, who finishes 25th in the end. He'll get 67 points added to his score, I think, after that. Work it out in a moment. Migo Costa Texera finishes 27th of Scott Bard, Time, Marcus Kinska, and Justin McLaren, who we just saw limp over the line at the end there. Kane Ryder and Alexi Watson finished 1 lap down. Dylan Little, Jackie Chung and Michael Brennan scored the last points. Aidan Coote, Dan Ackland, Mark Hilliard unfortunately couldn't start at the end of that race. That was crazy. We'll show the changing standings in a moment. Oh, here we go. It's already ready for us to look at. And yes, so this is without the this race being counted as a drop round, so that's going to be quite hard to explain. But if these points count, and these are the only ones that count, then Eskandari is going to lead by 25. But as I say, I think he's going to fall back on his drop round, so be 3 points further up than that. That'd actually be 28 points of a lead, I think. Craig Edwards may be the same. He'd be 70 back at the moment, but I reckon he would get a few more points than that. But this is the maximum. He'll be back anyway, 70 points. Danny Davison as well, who will be 87 points. Race control, note the obvious, I suppose. There are many outstanding penalties that will be posted tomorrow. I can't imagine what that chat room is like at the moment, by the way. It's probably on fire as it stands. Race control are busy working through things at the moment, and indeed says will be posted tomorrow. So that is the most provisional standings you've ever seen, but that's roughly how it's going to look at the end of today. Let's chat to some drivers, shall we? Jackson Rihanna, who wins race 2 here tonight from Montreal. Jackson, welcome in. Congrats on the win, your first of the season, your second podium of the season as well. Probably the craziest race, well, definitely the craziest race this season, maybe ever. But how much did you see of it there after the safety car restart? You seem to be in a world of your own out front.
Good evening, gents. Thanks for having me again. Yeah, mate, I just, after that restart, had my mirrors turned off. Basically, I did not want to look back, and yeah, there was a bit of carnage going on from what I'm just looking at now. But yeah, just idea was get track position and just try and hold it. It's a decently easy track to defend on. Also requires a bit of give and take from both drivers in any time you go wheel to wheel.
Well, I'll give you an idea. There's nearly 30 incidents from that race in race control at the moment, so that gives you some idea. Most of them after the restart, I think, or at least half of them. So, yeah, that gives you an idea. Let's chat a little bit about race 1, actually, as well, because you were in the front fight then as well. But unfortunately, a late incident took you out of that and ended up finishing 12th. What was your view on that late incident, that late battle there in race 1?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was a bit of netcode. But yeah, there was a front wing at my rear axle, which is never ideal. But yeah, no, it's all good. We're glad we were able to recover for the second race at least. Usually my qualifying's not that great, so pleasantly surprised with the qualifying tonight. Put us in a good position, obviously to stay out of the chaos. But yeah, unfortunate incident in the first race there, but hopefully it didn't cost us too many points in the context of the championship.
No, I think very provisionally you will have gained about 33 on Eskandari, which is more than half of what you were behind at the start of the day. So I think you will be in closer rather than further away after tonight. But thanks for coming to chat to us as always, Jackson, after these races, and congrats on race 2 victory tonight.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me, fellas.
Thanks very much, Jackson Rihanna. First place in race 2 tonight in front of Danny Davison, one of very few drivers to get 2 top 10s tonight. Danny, welcome in. Good to have you with us, I think, for the first time this season, unless I'm mistaken. Your first podium of the season as well in race number 2. Just talk us through stepping through the carnage. Oh, I'm not sure how much you will have seen of it, especially after the restart, but talk us through how you managed to navigate your way to the podium there.
I saw a bit of it, yeah. I mean, I was just hoping tonight I knew it was going to be a super tough race. Like every lap I was worried about crashing, so I was just trying to keep it together on the road and try to just keep it clean and maximize, which I managed to do. And I was very surprised to be second, actually. Wasn't expecting it.
Excuse me. Talk us through a little bit of how your season's been going so far, because as I say, we haven't been able to chat to you so far, but we are halfway now. Easy to forget that you got the first pole of the season at round number 1, but unfortunately a badly timed safety car didn't help you out on that night. How have you found this season so far? Has it been a little bit frustrating in some ways, or what's it been like?
Yeah, that's a good word to say. Very frustrating, because it's just been a season of mistakes, really. Every race was mistakes, and I've been sort of very frustrated. So tonight was the first time didn't really make any mistakes, so I was pretty happy. So hopefully it's a start of some positive form.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, we'll see you next week, of course, for a continuation of that. But for now, Danny, congrats on the first podium of the season, and thanks for chatting to us at the end tonight as well.
Yeah, cheers. Shout out to my team, Max Boost. Got a podium. My run sort of improved in the last 2 races, so yeah. Good fortune, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Jay Davison, second place in race 2 tonight at Montreal, just in front of Matthew Vince, who finishes in 3rd in race 2. Another driver to get 2 top 10s tonight, and maybe even close to our highest scorer of anybody as well. Matthew, welcome and good to have you with us, and congrats on a podium in race number 2. I mean, where do we even start with that round? In either race 1 or 2, you were involved in plenty of the battles, plenty of the action. How are you feeling at the end of those 2 races?
I'm still buzzing, mate. I was just pretty annoyed after how the last round went, getting taken out of P5 by a lap car. So I said to myself, I'm going to absolutely send it this round and see what happens, and it worked out in my favour.
This is the first time, like it is with Danny, the first time we've been able to chat to you this season. 34th in the standings doesn't quite reflect how you've been driving, I suppose, how you've been affecting these races. Just what was it about Montreal though that's been able to allow you to sort of step up this time round and get your first podium of the season?
Well, this is one of my best tracks, to be honest. And then round 1, I had no pedals. They were off getting fixed. I was using my paddles. Round 2, my hardware died, so I didn't even get to race. And then last round, I got taken out from P5. So I'm kind of finally showing my proper pace, I feel like.
You were using your paddles for the throttle and brake?
Yes, I was, just to make sure I could get some points. And it didn't go so well.
Goodness me. Well, I mean, you got 3, I suppose. It might... Or was it, I suppose that might help later on. I've never heard anybody. I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah,
well,
I didn't have much of a choice.
My goodness. Well, fair play on that. Very belatedly, a month later, for getting through that race without causing a scene. And yeah, more so. Congrats on tonight, first podium of the season. Thanks for chatting to us, Matthew, and congrats again on the podium.
Thanks, mate. Hopefully, I'll be up here a few more times before the end of the season.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Matthew Vince, 3rd place in race 2. That's the most extraordinary bit of driving I've ever heard about. I thought I'd seen it all tonight, but apparently not. we saw it all in Mexico a few weeks ago. Anyway, have you ever heard of anyone doing that race, by the way, using their paddles for the throttle and brake? I've never.
No, I haven't. It's certainly an interesting proposition there. Being a slightly disabled person myself, not being able to use my right arm fully, I understand there's a lot of people in sim racing that do stuff like that. So yeah, very impressive.
Of course, yeah, it's remarkable, absolutely remarkable. Well, anyway, glad he's got his pedals back now, and he's clearly putting them to good use. Let's go to the silver class just before we wrap. Ryan Borg, who wins in the silver class tonight, a 4th place overall finish as well. Ryan, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Good to have you back as well in the series after a couple of weeks away. It must be nice to return with a 4th place finish overall, and that's 2 top 10 overalls now in the two of the races you've been at. How was race number 2 tonight?
Oh, mate, race number 2 was just something like a dream. Like starting P28 after having just a horrible qualifying, coming through to end up P4 and the silver class win, the 2nd silver class win of my season. I couldn't ask for more, man. Like, I'm just ecstatic with that.
We're just watching a replay of one of the incidents happening in front of you. Just how much of the carnage did you have to pick yourself through, and what were you thinking at some moments here as cars were in the air, they're all over the circuit through the final chicane? The race after the restart was just crazy.
Oh, it was crazy. Yeah, I thought I was at an international airport at one point, just cars flying off. So, yeah, so just picking my way through, just choosing my fights, just keeping my nose clean. That's the end of it. So, yeah, it was pretty chaotic, but happy to bring home the result for Proline, get good team points as well. So happy with that.
Yes, well, congrats on the 4th place overall finish tonight, Ryan. Hopefully we'll see you again throughout the season, of course, in the final 4 rounds. But for now, congrats again, and thanks for chatting to us at the end tonight.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'll be here for the rest of the rounds now, so not missing any more.
All right, look forward to it. Ryan Borg, 4th place tonight overall, and silver class winner in race number 2. Very amusing about I wish I'd thought of that comparison myself, but there we go. That'll have to. Credits will have to go to Ryan Borg for that comment. I mean, as I say, Reece, I know you've not been here for all the seasons of the Player1 Sim Gear Super Formula Lights Championship, but that, for me, is possibly race 2 anyway, possibly the craziest race we've ever seen in this championship, maybe barring 1 or 2 others, but certainly up there as far as any race that I've seen recently. We'll do well to get better than that this season, but it's really, I think, brought us a new dimension to this championship, because before this round, I've got to admit, I was thinking Eskandari really might run away with this, with 4 podiums in a row going into this round. He managed to make that 5 tonight, but he has finally lost some points to some championship rivals. And Jackson Rihanna, as he tells us he so often does through the middle and end of a season, is starting to really fire on all cylinders.
Yeah, certainly is. This race is the best candidate yet for a turning point in this series, and right on time to cap off the first half of the season. We begin the second half next week at Motorland Aragon. We're going to hop back across the pond to Spain, where I'm sure there's going to be yet more action. But I think if it's action you're looking for, this race was it. If you're watching this on the VOD on YouTube later, we certainly hope you enjoyed that show, because we certainly did.
Yes, absolutely did. Yeah, we'll be back for the next 4 weeks to see out the conclusion of this championship. As you say, at the start of another European double-header before a trip back to North America later on this season. Aragon, Snetterton, Sebring and the Ben Motorsports Park rounding out the season. Don't forget, especially if you are in America at the moment, the time of this broadcast will change for you coming up very, very well this weekend. So next week's broadcast will change time, so make sure you don't miss the first hour of the broadcast, indeed most of the race, by getting caught up by that. So do join us again live for the next round of this championship. It's going to be absolutely fantastic, as it always is in the Player1 Sim Gear Super Formula Lights Championship, supported by Everything Simulated. Big thanks to all the sponsors, of course, who make these broadcasts possible. It's Player1 Sim Gear and Everything Simulated, of course, title sponsors, but also Capstone Marketing and Print Racer as well. Big thanks to the admin team and the stewards, who have got a very, very busy evening ahead of them, and indeed tomorrow evening, maybe, because of the amount of incidents that they've got to look through. 37 I can currently see, and they've only got to lap 15. There were 19 laps in the race, so make of that what you will. There's going to be a long night ahead for them, so good luck, and thanks to them for all their hard work as always. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Reece Gardner, with Judge Cook behind the cameras of this broadcast here tonight. We hope to see you back here again in 1 week's time from Aragon. It's going to be another fantastic round of this championship as we enter the second half of the season. Hope to see you then for another feature, but from all of us now from Montreal, it's goodbye.